Hi everyone, Spider-Man 1991 here to do GN Monthly for March 2013. GN Monthly is my monthly graphic novel review video where I talk about the graphic novels that I've read this month. Okay, so starting off with Independence, we have from IDW Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Volume 4. What happens in this book is, for the first part of it, Casey Jones arrives at April's antique shop, and he pretty much suffered another beatdown from his dad. And Raph, he's the short fuse of the group. He decides that this is enough, and he heads over to Casey's house, and he is about to kill his dad. And then Splinter shows up, and Splinter almost agrees with him, and Splinter almost kills Casey's dad. But then he's able to talk Raphael out of it and calm him down and stuff, and they tell Casey's dad that Casey's gonna live with them from now on. And then the next half of the book is pretty much dealing with another mutation from the lab that created the ooze, which resulted in another mutation of a snapping turtle. However, unlike the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, this turtle is not very bright. He's more of just a savage monster, and towards the end, though, it seems like they killed it, but unfortunately, the snapping turtle survived, and he's found by Old Hob. And throughout this volume, you see Kang working with Baxter Stockman to help strengthen his army, and also we have Shredder planning to make a move to try to convert Leonardo to the Foot Clan. So, I would say this series has been amazing for me. I've pretty much been waiting for the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from IDW in trade form rather than getting it monthly, and it's been working out for me. I mean, it has been a while since I've read the last story or the last volume, but overall this is still a great series, and I did briefly skim it right before I read this just so I could get an idea about what happened last time. So nevertheless, this is still an awesome series. I would highly recommend you pick up Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles by IDW. If you haven't gotten I'd say since we're only on the 4th volume, you could probably go back, get the first 3, then read this, because you'll definitely want to start from the beginning. Right, next up, from Dark Horse, I just finished reading this one today. It's Buffy season. Okay, because of the lighting, you probably can't get a good view of the cover, but here we go. Buffy season 8, volume 4, the library edition. The library editions were pretty much reprints of the entire season 8 series, but in this case for Buffy, they're pretty much reprinting them 20 issues per volume, and this is the final volume. Pretty much everything comes to light in this. Twilight's identity, Twilight, the big bad of season 8, is revealed to be Angel, and we now know that he did it as a way to sort of divert the bad guys rather than from always focusing on Buffy, because mainly Angel's demon friend who has connection with the powers that be warns him that if he keeps trying to work with Buffy, then eventually they'll both fall. But if they try to do this, but if Angel goes this way, then he might have a chance of saving her and stuff. But in the end, Buffy and Angel almost create an entire universe called Twilight, and this universe tries to replace the one that's currently the current universe, but in order to do that, it needs to take control of the Seed of Wonder, which is the source of all magic, and in order to protect itself, the Seed resurrected the Master. And the Master, after defeating the Master, the Twilight Dimension possesses Angel, and so Buffy has to end up fighting Angel again, and when Giles tries to, pretty much kill Angel himself, unfortunately that does not go well, and Giles dies, and Buffy finally, is furious, so she just destroys the Seed, which cuts off all magic forever. And what really happened, and pretty much the fallout of that, is that while right before the Seed's destruction, every Slayer that was called still has their powers, and so is every vampire. However, now with the seed destroyed, no slayers can be ever called again. Witches and Wiccans, they no longer have any power, and also vampires, they can still sire people, but instead of being like full vampires, they're just like some sort of mindless drone vampire or a zompire. That's what they've been That's what they've been called now. But yeah, Buffy season 8, definitely a very nice conclusion. I'm really, and if you've been reading Angel and Faith, then you should definitely be reading season 8, because all of the events of Angel and Faith and all pretty much spin out of what happens towards the end of Buffy season 8. And obviously we see through Angel and Faith what Angel's consequences of his actions, which was killing Giles. Even though he was possessed, he still feels bad for it. I mean, really, when you get to see Angel, like, towards the end of the book, he's, like, in a full catatonic state. But overall, I liked Season 8. I really would recommend this to Buffy fans. If you love the TV show, but you haven't read any of the comics, then you should definitely give Season 8, the Season 8 series by Dark Horse a shot. I haven't read Season 9 yet. I'm not sure whether or not... I want to start reading Season 9, but I'm not sure whether I want to get the trade paperbacks right now, or wait till wait and see if they're going to do the library editions like they did for Season 8. Because I would like to get the library editions. They're very nice. They are really nice hardcovers, and also pretty convenient since they have like 20 issues per volume. Pretty much Season 8, overall awesome series. I would definitely recommend it to give that every single Buffy fan at least gives it a shot. Okay, now it's time for DC, starting with Batgirl Volume 2. Alright, what happens in this book is Batgirl is still kind of, trying to get back in the game of crime fighting, and she also has to deal with a new foe called Nightfall. And also in this volume, it collects the Zero issue of Batgirl, as well as the tie-in to Night of Owls. And for most of the time in the story, it does foreshadow the return of James Gordon Jr. And also, when we get to the final issue here, issue number 13, it starts leading into Death of the Family. So yeah, So Batgirl Volume 2, I love this just as much as Volume 1. Seriously, this is a great series. Once you start reading it, you understand why Gail Simone is a great writer for this book, and why when DC announced that she was going to be off the book, pretty much all her fans united and were able to get her back on Batgirl, which I thought was an impressive feat for fans, and also pick this book up because she's an amazing writer, and she's definitely done wonders with Barbara Gordon as Batgirl. I'm now thinking about going back and reading her issues of... I think she wrote a few issues of Birds of Prey, so I would like to read those. But back to the subject at hand, Batgirl Volume 2, really nice. It is, at this point, it is kind of starting to lead into the events of that happened in the other Bat books, like Night of Owls and Death of the Family, but all the stuff that does happen to Batgirl, such as her fight with Nightfall, that's still pretty good as well. So I would say you should definitely give Batgirl a shot. Read Volume 1 if you get the chance, then read Volume 2, so you can kind of understand it a little more. Now it's... Hold on. Right. Now, last DC book, Superman for Tomorrow. This is a story arc written by Brian Azzarello and with artwork by Jim Lee. First off, let me say Jim Lee, he's an awesome artist. The artwork alone is one of the reasons you should pick this up. The story pretty much goes that it pretty much takes place after this huge event called The Vanishing, in which over millions of people have vanished off the face of the earth, and no one could stop it, not even Superman, because we learn in the very first part of it that right before it happened, Superman got a call from Green Lantern, Kyle Rayner, that he needed help in space, so Superman went to go help him, and that's the reason he couldn't prevent the vanishing. And ultimately, we learned that all the people of Earth that were vanished, which included Lois Lane, were apparently apparently sent to a pocket dimension that Superman himself created, so that he'd have a place to send the people of Earth in case an event that destroyed Krypton would happen to Earth. And the reason he did it was because Superman always had an idea about his father Jor-El, like, why would my father only save me instead of working to save the entire planet? So Superman pretty much thinks of a way to save the people of Earth. However, we learned that the reason that what triggered the people of Earth being sent to the pocket dimension was actually General Zod. Well, actually, it's later revealed that the General Zod in this story was an alternate version of Zod. So, and apparently the pocket dimension was part of the Phantom Zone. So, and Zod did the whole thing so that Superman would send himself into the dimension and try to save the people, which would then lead to Zod having a confrontation with Superman. But ultimately, in the end, Superman's able to save everyone, and Zod's destroyed. But oh yeah, one more thing. This is also the issue where Superman's Fortress of Solitude in the Arctic is destroyed, and he pretty much in the end he sets up the new fortress, which was in South America, that looks like an Aztec temple. And that fortress was used, I believe, up until Superman Up and Away, which was 1 year after Infinite Crisis, when Superman is able to reconstruct the fortress in the Arctic. So yeah, I would say that this is definitely a great Superman story. Really one of the best ones I've read. One of the best ones I've read in a while. You should definitely get this, because it had. Well, the story was collected before, but ultimately it was collected in 2 volumes. There was Volume 1, then Volume 2. Now they're pretty much collected into one single volume, which I think is great. This was kind of the same thing that they did with Hush, Batman Hush. They had it in 2 volumes, but then they reprinted it in 1 volume. But now they pretty much did the same thing here. They printed it into 1 volume, so I would definitely recommend this story. That Superman fans should definitely check it out. Also, Brian Azzarello, he's the writer on Wonder Woman, and he also wrote the Batman miniseries for Flashpoint. So if you liked either one of those, then you should definitely give this a shot, because it's really nice. Okay, now it's time for Marvel. First off, from Marvel, my graphic novel is actually a digital version. It's okay, now this you probably can't see very well, but it's Guardians of the Galaxy. Okay, I'm trying to move it back and forth, see if I can get it to show up well on the camera. No, it's not. Okay, so I'm just going to hold it like this. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 Legacy. It collects the first 6 issues of Guardians of the Galaxy, the 2008 series, which was written by Dan Abnett and Andy Lanning. What happened? Pretty much the first 6 issues. For the first 3, it's pretty much introduces you to the team, which was put together by Star-Lord, out of pretty much as a result of the main series Annihilation and Annihilation Conquest. So you may be, if you haven't read any of those, you may be a little confused. I read Annihilation, but it's been a while, and plus that story was like really, really huge. So I kind of felt like that was a little over my head. But Guardians of the Galaxy kind of summarized it a little, so I sort of understood it. But why the team's created, it's pretty much created to prevent any kind of disaster like that from ever happening again in the universe. The first, like I said, it collects the first 6 issues. For the first 3, though, the team's just getting together. They're on their first mission, and they discover someone frozen in a block of ice from, I think, an alternate timeline, and it turns out it's this guy named Major Victory. and they pretty much end up fighting this church organization that apparently used to worship Adam Warlock, and eventually, though, the church discovers that the Adam Warlock they have on their team is the real deal. At first they think it's a fake, but turns out it's the real deal, and then suddenly they're like, wait, they have Adam Warlock, then who's this? And apparently it's a resurrection. They have a resurrection cocoon that was the same one that I believe Adam and Drax used to sort of regenerate themselves. But after that, the next 3 issues are just Secret Invasion tie-ins. But it's actually a good tie-in to Secret Invasion because, you know, Drax the Destroyer, pretty much the Guardians of the Galaxy, they're stuck on this, like, they're staying on this huge base which is consisted of a bunch of other alien races, and when people are starting to suspect who's the Skrull and who's not, Drax the Destroyer pretty much has a very radical but effective plan on finding them. Overall, Guardians of the Galaxy, the first volume was very nice. It was a nice introduction, I think, a nice introduction to this team. In the end, though, it leaves you wanting more, so, you know, I now feel encouraged to go and try and find the rest of the Guardians of the Galaxy series and read it. I'm mostly reading it because of the movie that's going to come out next year. They're going to make a Guardians of the Galaxy movie for August 2014. I can't wait for that. I'm starting to be excited to see it now, so I look forward to that. Also, one more thing I want to point out about the Guardians of the Galaxy trades. Finding the actual trades is, well, for the first 2 volumes, it's really hard because they are pretty much really hard to find, and by the time you do find one, it's very expensive because I was on Amazon and eBay, and some people were charging like $45 or $50 for the paperback, and I thought, okay, that's ridiculous. Then I found out that they have it available for digital download for about the digital version is only $10.99. That is, I think, a better buy, really, because it's actually cheaper than the cover price of the paperback. So, yeah, there was a good investment there. I really didn't like. I mean, when I was looking for the book, I've been meaning to read Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 for a while now, and when I finally decided to get the digital version, I'm glad because it was way less expensive, and it's pretty much the same story for, you know, just a different format. But no, I would recommend if you have any kind of will or desire to see the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, you may want to do some reading to give you an idea about what it's going to be about. So I think Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 Legacy is a great way to introduce you to the cosmic side of the Marvel Universe. Alright, next up. Wolverine Origins Volume 1, Born in Blood. This series, Wolverine Origins, is technically kind of spins out of House of M, which House of M, you know, Scarlet Witch, Ultra Reality, No More Mutants. After everything was fixed, Wolverine had all his memories restored. So the series Wolverine Origins kind of dealt with, you know, so pretty much in the first volumes, Logan's dealing with his recovered memories, and he's pretty much going off on a mission on his own to deal with any of his mistakes, and he's also got the Muramasa blade with him so he can end the threat permanently, because we know that in the Marvel Universe, the Muramasa blade can negate any injury, can negate a healing factor. So that's obviously a very powerful weapon, even against Wolverine. It's pretty much halfway through this collects only the first 5 issues, but it's pretty much Logan. He goes on this mission. He ultimately ends up fighting Nuke, and right after he kills Nuke, the Cyclops, Captain America, and Emma Frost show up and try to stop him, talk some sense, and also Emma Frost reveals that Wolverine's son, Daken, is alive. And so when Wolverine gets this news, he gives the Muramasa blade to Cyclops and tells him that, you know, this is the one thing that can kill me, and my son's alive, so I gotta go check this out. So, not a bad opening arc for this series. I mean, it's pretty much Wolverine dealing with the fallout of his memories returning. Well, actually, I think there was another story called Origins and Omens. Origins and Omens that dealt with Wolverine, which was more of a direct fallout. This is pretty much just kind of picking off where that one left off. But yeah, I got this because I heard about Wolverine Origins and people said it was good, so I decided to pick it up. And I'm glad. It was a good decision. I like it. If you want to see like Wolverine in kind of a more of a hunter rather than a superhero and doing his own thing, then this is pretty much the book. This is the book for you. And also, this series is different because during this series he goes back to using the brown and orange it's the like brown and orange costume that I wore mostly during the 80s. So yeah, good series, definitely a buy. Alright, and the final book I have here is Uncanny X-Force Final Execution Volume 2. This is the conclusion to Rick Remender's Uncanny X-Force. And let me tell you something, it is very powerful. Okay, the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants has kidnapped Evan, the Apocalypse clone that Phantom X made, and they try to convince him to go over to the dark side, but thankfully X-Force survived the Brotherhood's attack, and they go to the Brotherhood, they mess them up. This book is just non-stop action. Ultimately, it leads to the final battle between Wolverine and Daken, and of course, Wolverine ends up, spoiler alert, killing his only son by basically drowning him in a puddle. Really, that's what happens. I mean, that is probably the only effective way to kill Wolverine or someone like him, is just to drown him. And, also Sabretooth is back in this, so he pretty much goes to Wolverine and tells him, like, yeah, I planned this whole thing, I wanted you to kill your son, blah, 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 I'm evil. And also in the end, also in the first half of the story, Phantom X died, but thankfully in the end, they're able to reclone him. However, the cloning machine, Phantom X, he pretty much has 3 brains. But when they try to reclone him, the machine misreads that. So instead, we get three separate Phantom X clones for each brain. There's, first of all, there's a female clone called Cluster, and there's the good Phantom X, who's known as John Philippe, and the bad brain, which is pretty much wearing like inverted colors for Phantom X's usual outfit, and the bad clone actually goes by Phantom X. The good one's John Philippe. So remember that. So this is the end to Rick Remender's Uncanny X-Force series, and I have to say, this really was a good series. I liked reading it. It was pretty much non-stop. I'd say it was mostly like dealing with covert missions, and it was non-stop action. I mean, if you're a big fan of just, heroes mutants pretty much going in and just pretty much just non-stop, just taking out their targets, not really looking for trouble. Technically that is what X-Force does. Wolverine pretty much refounded the team so that he could deal with any threats to the mutant race before it would happen. In this case, it all started with Apocalypse, and it kind of ended in that direction too. And when I say kind of, I mean Ethan Kid Apocalypse was involved with that in the first story arc. It did begin with Kid Apocalypse, so nice little so that did kind of have a little symmetry there. But overall, Rick Remender's Uncanny X-Force, I loved it. Almost every volume was great. The only story arc that I wasn't a fan of was the whole Otherworld thing. That was just a little messed up. But Final Execution was amazing. I would definitely recommend this to anyone who who's pretty much a fan of Wolverine, and also anyone who's a fan of just non-stop action, because that's what this book is all about. Okay, well, that's it for GN Monthly. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing to my channel. Hope you enjoyed me talking about graphic novels for a while instead of just weekly comic reviews. Thanks again for watching. Spider-Man 1991 saying see you later.